Hello, you are welcome to New Focused Approach to Mathematics Basic 8. This is the revised edition. And in this lesson, we are looking at factorization of algebraic expressions. We want to focus on factorization by groupings. Now, we have different types of factorization. In Basic 7, we study about factorization. Now, I want to further go on to factorizing using grouping method. This lesson can be found in page 151. Now we'll take few examples to explain the concept here. We want to factorize this particular expression, okay? And there are four terms involved, And so we'll try to group them, group the first two and the last two. It depends on the variables involved. Now if I look at the first two here, I can factorize, or there's a common factor there, which is b. And if I look at the remaining two, also there is a common factor, which is y, and that means I can factorize. So for the first part, when I look at the b being the common factor and I bring it out, I'll be left with a minus y. Now on the second part, there is minus here, so I must introduce the minus. If it is plus, you put plus there. If it is minus, you put minus there. Now again, I have y here, y there, so I can bring y out. Then I'll be left with a. Now here is plus, but because I've taken negative y out, or I've put minus out, I must introduce negative here so that when they multiply, we'll get back our positive by expansion. So if a comes here, then I'll be left with one of the y's, because 2y here, and then I've taken one of them out. Good. Or y squared, and I've taken one out. So you can see that now, instead of 4 terms, I now have 2 terms. So again, instead of these 4 terms here, I have only 2 terms. So the whole of this is 1 term, the whole of that's another term. Now within this term, we have a common factor. A minus y and a minus y is a common factor in both terms. So I can bring one of them out, a minus y out. Then when I bring it out here, what is left here will be b. Then minus here to what is left is y. Then I get this. Now this becomes the factorization, or the final answer of these two, this expression. So this is the common factors. Y, a minus y, and then b minus y. That means any of this can divide the whole of this without a remainder. Right, let's take another example and see. Factorize completely. 2a p plus aq minus bq minus 2bp. Now, so again, if I see the first 2 terms, there is a common factor. So I can take one out. And if I look at the remaining 2, there's a common factor. So I can factor the common out. So with the first set, I can factor a out. Then I have 2 of p plus q. Then the second term, here there's minus here, so I have to introduce minus. And the common factor here is b. b goes out. Then I have q also. And again, here is minus. So to maintain the minus, I must put plus here. So that when I multiply negative by positive, I'll get a negative back. Then I have 2 of the p, okay, because b is out, so 2p left. Okay, now when you finish, you always realize that those expressions in the bracket must always be the same. They must always be the same. If they are not the same, then the approach you are using is not right. So it means you have to reorganize the terms so you can get a factorization that will lead having 2 of the, having whatever is in the bracket being the same at both sides of the terms. So again, since this and this are the same, we can factor one out. Remember, q plus 2p is the same as saying 2p plus q. They are the same because addition is commutative. So if I bring 2p plus q out, I have a minus b, and that becomes the factorization of the expression given. Let's try another one. Here we have to factorize this. And so again, we can do first 2 and then the last 2. That is if it will work. If it doesn't work, in some cases you do it and it won't work. You have to come back and then reorganize it by maybe changing the terms. Maybe you can let a 10m goes to this side and let the 7 maybe come here or something. It depends on how you will arrange it. So first two, I can see that 5 is a common factor and m is a common factor, so 5m comes out. Then I'll be left with d plus, here because 5 is out, then here will be left with 2, so that when I multiply 5m and 2, I have 10m. On the part over here too, I can factor 2 out, and when 2 comes, sorry, I can factor 7 rather out, and when 7 comes out, I have d plus 2 as well. And again, you see that the two terms in the bracket are the same. So when I bring 1 out, then I'll be left with 5m plus 7, and that becomes the factorization. Now go ahead and solve more questions on your own. Thanks so much for watching.